people are in a position where actually the costs are spiraling out of control. Hi, Alasdair Hill, Sales Director for Zadara for Northern Europe. It's a tricky situation at the moment because organisations are being hit from two different sides. Number one, they're in a situation where the likes of Broadcom have made acquisitions some 2 years ago. They're now in a position where Broadcom are effectively trying to recoup their $69 billion worth of investment. So they're effectively rising all the prices, reducing the level of service. So we're in a situation where people are seeing spiraling costs and they're in a situation where they don't know what to do. So the other side of that, the flip side, is that the hyperscalers are also creating a number of problems for people at the moment. So there's a number of issues. Our good friends in the US are creating a number of headaches around data sovereignty. We're in a situation where Greenland was being debated, and as a result, that's made a number of European countries quite nervous. So as a result, people are now looking at whether or not they need to repatriate those workloads because they're concerned that if AWS or Azure, for example, were restricted in the governance or restricted in a situation where, if we were in a situation where the American government decided that they wanted to have access to data sets that were in those hyperscalers, would you be in a position where you wouldn't feel comfortable actually giving that data? So this is why people are actually talking about repatriating those workloads into a sovereign data center within the UK. And this is exactly where the Trust Cloud fits, because it's a data center in the UK under sovereign jurisdiction powered by Zadara. The current situation with Broadcom and VMware is creating a number of issues, primarily because lack of development, spiraling costs because everything's moved from a perpetual license over to a subscription license. So people had originally built out a business case working on the fact that they had a 5-year write-down. They're now in a position where that subscription license has effectively doubled, if not tripled, those costs, and they're not baked into their business plans. So they're in a situation now where, what do? They're sitting on hardware that effectively they've got to sweat. They've got people that have got skill sets, training, ecosystem, all baked into the VMware product set. We're in a situation now where, how do we help those customers carry on delivering service, whether that's retail, whether that's higher education, whether that's governmental or otherwise. They're in a situation where they've got to try and rationalize those costs. And this is exactly where the Trust Cloud fits, because we're in a position where we can enable those VMware-based customers to migrate pretty much seamlessly over to the Trust Cloud. Being based out of the Arc data centers, we're also in a position where we can potentially offer Crown hosting capability as well for those public sector clients. The Trust Cloud, powered by Zadara, is an ultimately flexible tool that delivers a multi-tenancy, specifically out to that client base looking for an alternative to the traditional hypervisors and the hyperscalers out there. So we're in a position where effectively we can scale those environments from just a few virtual machines up to hundreds or thousands of virtual machines in their own single tenancy across a completely managed platform based out of the Arc data centers. So at the moment, people are having a number of issues. I think that the hyperscalers arrived sort of 15 odd years ago. They hit the market, solved everybody's problems allegedly, don't have to run infrastructure, don't have to own a data center anymore. I'm in a position where I can effectively just turn IT into a utility. That's been great, and a lot of people have rushed into the hyperscalers. However, not all of them have refactored those applications. So people have suffered with a severe case of FOMO, so fear of missing out. They've rushed into those hyperscalers, haven't necessarily considered how that workload's going to be delivered or refactored. So people are in a position where actually the costs are spiraling out of control. We're also seeing rising costs from a number of the hyperscalers locally, along with added pressures around data sovereignty, specifically around the Cloud Act, GDPR, and the Patriot Act as was. So people are getting a little bit more nervous and a little bit more savvy now that certain workloads don't actually belong in the hyperscalers. So you're in a position where you've got sovereignty, you've got spiraling costs, and then there are conversations around the AI workloads as well, which need those low latency capabilities. So necessarily the cloud has a distinct market to play in, but it isn't necessarily going to answer everybody's questions. So over the next couple of years, we're in a situation where we've seen a number of barriers that have been introduced to people and their digital acceleration, predominantly due to the fact that the hyperscalers are ramping up costs. And to be fair, they've got a number of challenges in their own right to do with the cost of power and the cost of IT equipment, which actually translates down to those people that are actually delivering this on site as well. So those people that are in a situation where we've seen DDR memory and SSD specifically, hardware being spiraling costs, which are causing people a huge amount of concern, constraints around delivery of equipment. And then obviously you've got the position of Broadcom and VMware is creating a number of issues as well, because costs are all spiraling out of control. People are really challenged at the moment because it's not just about hardware. It's not just about the hypervisor anymore. There are several challenges that people are trying to address. These are all putting pressures on their ability to be able to deliver their own services.